So dear friends, welcome back for today's session. In this session we are going to discuss about the need solution pertaining to the chapter microbes in human welfare. Alright, it's the 9th chapter of your second PUC. 10th chapter, and the 9th chapter which we have already completed was strategies for enhancement in food production. I also request the students to be regular to the classes. Here we have the first question. The guts of cow and buffalo possess. Alright, 4 options have been given, dear friends. One, we have the methanogens, followed by the cyanobacteria. Then we have the fucus species, followed by chlorella species. Here always remember, whenever we are talking about the methanogens, alright, see, the most important among methanogens is methanobacterium. Alright, and dear friends, this methanobacterium is present in the rumen or in the stomach of cow. Alright, rumen, we can say rumen as what? A part of the stomach of cow. Alright. Here, further, you note the point also that, lot of cellulosic material is available in the rumen or the stomach of the cow. Why? Because it tends to consume more of grass, and we know that the important component which is present in the cell wall of the grass is cellulose, and to digest that, of course, the bacteria, that is the methanobacterium, which is present in the gut of cow and buffalo, is important to break down the cellulose into the simpler sugars. Right, we definitely need the methanobacterium, dear friends. Alright, so when it gets broken down, that provides the proper nutrition which is needed for the cow as well as the buffalo for absorption. Alright, later they will get the proper energy which is required through that broken down material. So among the 4 given options, we have to go for option A. That will be our right answer. The next question, let us move with, is which one of the following fungi contains hallucinogens? Alright, here, dear friends, we need to here consider the fungi which contains hallucinogen. See, hallucinogen, whenever I am speaking, alright, we need to remember that it's a drug, alright, and it can be, of course, be produced or can be present in the fungi. So we have here one of the important species called Amanita muscaria. Alright, this Amanita muscaria, dear friends, it's a member of Basidiomycetes. See, we have 4 classes, as we all know, in the fungi, that is Phycomycetes, Basidiomycetes, Ascomycetes and Deuteriomycetes. So this Amanita muscaria, which contains these hallucinogens, alright, so this is, alright, it belongs to a class called as Basidiomycetes. Alright, and note the point also that it's a poisonous mushroom in simple sense. Alright, the name of poisonous mushroom in simple sense we can refer it to as what? Amanita muscaria, dear friends. Alright, so this hallucinogen, dear friends, produces toxic, alright, alkaloid. That toxic alkaloid is called as muscarin. Alright, so this toxic alkaloid muscarin, alright, has similar effects when we compare that with acetylcholine. Alright, and of course many receptors for which are present in the brain. Alright, so generally what happens, this leads to the excitation of neurons, my dear friends. Alright, so it has hallucinogenic effect. So anyway, remember here, the fungi which contains hallucinogens is Amanita muscaria, which is nothing but a poisonous mushroom among the given 4 following, that is Marcella esculenta, Amanita muscaria, Neurospora species as well as the Ustilago species. The best and the right answer which you can go for is option B. Please go for it. Dear friends, the next question we have here is, a good producer of citric acid is? Alright, see, citric acid, alright, is of course what we can say, it's a type of organic acid, first point to be noted. Alright, and furthermore, dear friends, let me also tell you that the Aspergillus species, there are number of fungi, which can produce, of course, different types of organic acids, but Aspergillus species, alright, various types of Aspergillus species are there, but the most prominent among the species which produces citric acid is Aspergillus, alright, niger, the common species which produces the citric acid, dear friends. Alright, so here, and apart from the Clostridium, apart from this, we can also consider Clostridium butylicum. Alright, other bacteria I am talking about now, Clostridium butylicum. This Clostridium butylicum is a bacteria which produces one more organic acid called as butyric acid. Alright, so note the point like this, not only fungi, even many different types of bacteria are also involved in the production of the citric acid, dear friends. Alright, and further, if you want more points, let me tell you, there is one unicellular fungi, alright, called as Saccharomyces, alright, which is also referred to commonly as yeast, alright, or baking yeast, which is used in the bakeries for production of various fermented products. Alright, so this also is used for the production of what we can say ethanol. Alright, ethanol. Alright, so C2H5OH, 100% alcohol is ethanol, dear friends. Alright, in the similar sense, one more example if I can give you, you talk about Pseudomonas. Alright, among the given options I am speaking, dear friends. Pseudomonas, alright, produces alkaline proteases. See, dear friends, here I have already told you Clostridium butylicum produces butyric acid, Saccharomyces cerevisiae or yeast produces ethanol, alright, and Pseudomonas, as I said you just now, it produces alkaline proteases. Alright, but the option here, third question which is given here is good producer of citric acid. So citric acid is not produced by the other options which I just said now. It is produced by Aspergillus niger. So you need to go for option 3, that is Aspergillus. Then, dear friends, next question we have microbe used for biocontrol of pest butterfly caterpillars is. Alright, see, now whenever we talk about pest, what comes to our mind? Pesticides, right? But the question as here is biocontrol. So we are not directly applying the chemicals here, but which are derived from the living organisms. Biocontrol, right? By using the living organisms, we are controlling the pests. So those types of we can say the biocontrol agents as biopesticides, dear friends. Right? Note the point. And further, let me tell you that these biopesticides are not only used for controlling the butterfly caterpillars, but that are also used to control various types of weeds. Alright, weeds may damage the agricultural crops when they grow with along with the crops which we are in fact growing in a particular agricultural field. The weeds may absorb the amino acids, vitamins, the micronutrients, macronutrients and other nutrients as well. We can say rather both micro as well as macronutrients. When it absorbs, that will be a loss for the already growing agricultural crops in the field. Alright, so if we need to eliminate this rather. Alright, for eliminating these weeds, definitely we can also go for biopesticides, dear friends. Alright, so not only weeds, as I said you, even various types of insects which can cause damage to the crop, alright, or crop loss which can occur due to the insects can also be controlled by using biopesticides. And indeed, pathogens as well. Many different types of bacteria causes various diseases to the plants. Fungi also causes various types of diseases through which alright, there will be damage to the crop production. Alright, so not only crop production, even other metabolic and physiological aspects are as well affected. So considering that, dear friends, alright, so biopesticides is the boon, as it not only controls the pests, it also controls the weeds, insects, pathogens as well. Alright, So here, dear friends, now let me tell you the most important part of this question. See, we have microorganisms which are used as biopesticides. Like we can include the viruses. See, dear friends, we also have various types of bacteria which can be used as biopesticides. All right. Various types of protozoans can be used as biopesticides. Even, dear friends, various types of other fungi can also be used as biopesticides. All right, dear friends. So, and many other. So, these all help in what? Controlling of what, dear friends? The, all right, pests. All right. Organisms are used against the organisms to control, all right, their infestation and reduce the, all right, reduce their infection as well as the loss which is caused by them. All right, friends. So in this sense, the question here, now let me move on to the question. See here, the biocontrol of pest butterfly caterpillars. Here we always talk about here Bacillus thuringiensis. All right. See, this Bacillus thuringiensis, or in short we represent it with capital B and small t. All right. So the spores of this bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis, all right, produce an insecticidal cryprotein. We represent this insecticidal cryprotein with small letters, small c, small r, small y. This insecticidal cryprotein, all right, can kill the, all right, larvae of insects. All right, that's how it protects. All right, so the right answer, all right, we have to go for here is Bacillus thuringiensis, dear friends. Then, dear friends, we also have next Monascus purpureus. Monascus purpureus, all right, is a yeast, all right, commercially used in the production of. See, dear friends, let me tell you, there is one important aspect called as statins. We represent it with statins. All right. So these statins are produced by Monascus purpureus, and these statins, all right, is very important, dear friends. All right. Commercially it is produced. These statins are necessary for, all right, blood cholesterol reduction. Blood cholesterol reduction can be done through statins, dear friends. All right. So that's what, all right, statins are important for. All right. So it shows one important concept called competitive inhibition. Competitive inhibition, dear friends. All right. So through this, what it does, the enzyme responsible for the synthesis of cholesterol, it binds to that and lowers the cholesterol level in the blood. All right, that's what it is. All right, Monascus purpureus is a fungi, dear friends. So among the given four options, as I said you, all right, Monascus purpureus is used in the production of statins, which are blood cholesterol reducing agents. So please go for option 4. That will be your right answer. Dear friends, moving ahead, we have question number 6 here. A nitrogen fixing microbe associated with azolla in rice fields is, 4 options have been mentioned: Spirulina, Anabina, Frankia and Tolyptotrix. Alright, these are the four options. And let me tell you that, of course, azolla, alright, is a nitrogen fixing, but it will fix the nitrogen only when it is associated with one more important microbe called as Anabina. Of course, it can fix independently, but it will be more effective when it is associated with Anabina, dear friends. So we can say rather azolla Anabina association, which is very important to in fact fertilize the rice or paddy fields, rice paddy fields. All right. So note this point. So the nitrogen content of the rice can be definitely increased by this association, dear friends, and rice can be grown year after year with the help of azolla, through which the production of protein production rather inside the rice can definitely be increased. All right. So this is what about this question. So the right answer which you can go for here is what I said you, Anabina. So azolla should be associated with Anabina. So this association will help in yielding more of nitrogen in the rice. Then, dear friends, the next question we have here is, In gobar gas, the maximum amount is that of. Four options have been mentioned here. See, the butane, methane, propane and carbon dioxide are the four options. Alright. The gobar gas can also be referred to as, dear friends, biogas. Alright. So biogas, always remember, is very rich in methane. Alright. CH4. See, we are well familiar with various concepts like, we have Khadi and Village Industries Commission, agricultural research institutes, many, are working day in and day out in various villages across our country, right, to establish, the biogas plants through which the biogas can be supplied containing the maximum proportions of methane, right, which is a very efficient fuel to the villagers. They can definitely be used for their household purposes as well as for other agricultural purposes as well. Dear friends, let me tell you now what actually how this biogas or gobar gas is actually produced. All right. See, gobar gas is produced by, with the help of anaerobic bacterium, dear friends, or anaerobic microbes. All right. So these anaerobic microbes, it digests all the methanogenic components, like for example if you are putting cow dung along with other garbage and also other agricultural waste into a particular biogas plant. All right. So what happens here is that the conversion of those organic substances will be occurring because methanogenic bacteria is involved here. So that gets converted into methane, that converts all the organic compounds, most of them, into higher proportions of methane. That methane is, as I said you, very efficient, dear friends. So that methane can be extracted through one more gas chamber. Okay, a very simple diagram I will represent here. See, this is a very big concrete tank wherein, all right, we have placed this around 15 to 20 feet below the soil. All right, and what happens, there will be one more chamber inside which is connected with a gas line chamber. All right, so to feed the cow dung as well as the other organic waste, we have one more chamber through which we can feed it, and later, dear friends, whenever there is gas is raised, so it will move into the another chamber. All right, that will be collected through, all right, and supplied to the villages. So this is what is done. Many different types of gases are produced through that is especially the methane, followed by carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, all right, and of course other gases as well, but the majority is here the methane, dear friends. All right. So anyway, now let me come to the percentage. All right, now whenever we speak about methane, all right, so it would be around, all right, 50 to 70% of overall gases which are produced, followed by carbon dioxide, which would be approximately around 30 to 40%. All right, then followed by other traces of nitrogen, all right, hydrogen sulfide, H2S, and of course hydrogen. All right, so these are the other proportions of gases other than methane and carbon dioxide which we can find. So the more appropriate option which you can go for here is, dear friends, the methane. Please go for it. That is the answer for your 7th question. Dear friends, next question we have: the most common substrate used in distilleries for the production of ethanol is, right? So 4 options have been mentioned: corn meal, soya meal, ground gram, as well as molasses. So always remember, whenever we talk about the ethanol, right, that is C2H5OH, right? So this is the raw material which is required for the manufacture of ethanol. All right, generally can be of 3 types, dear friends. All right, so first most important is sugar, followed by the starch, and then cellulosic material. All right, these 3 are compulsorily needed for the production of alcohol in the distilleries, dear friends. All right, and further let me tell you that whenever we consider sugars, all right, sugar can be obtained through sugar cane, all right, or sugar beets, or molasses, or various other different types of fruits. All right, so now these sugars, the organic compounds are converted into what? The ethanol, that is C2H5OH. Carbon is the major component. Of course, we know that sugars will have carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. The same C2H5OH here, whenever we are speaking, so the same is present, but it is converted to a process by anaerobic bacteria, generally called as fermentation, dear friends. All right, so here one of the most common substrate which is used for the production of ethanol is molasses. So please go for option D. That will be your right answer. Dear friends, next question we have. Which one of the following is not a biofertilizer? Agrobacterium, Rhizobium, Nostoc and Mycorrhiza are the 4 given options. Here, let us understand first of all what do we mean by a biofertilizer. See, whenever we are talking about biofertilizers, these are organisms, alright, which enrich the nutrient quality of soil. Alright, so remember this. Alright, what are biofertilizers? Alright, the organisms which enrich the nutrient quality of soil are referred to as what? Biofertilizers. So the biofertilizers, the major, alright, the sources are from the bacteria, alright, even many different types of fungi can also act as biofertilizers, as well as various other types of cyanobacteria. So majorly these three are acting as what? Biofertilizers. Now let me come to the point here. Firstly, let us understand what Rhizobium bacteria does. Alright, see, this Rhizobium bacteria, alright, dear friends, is present in the nodules of roots. Alright, which nodules? In the case of leguminous plants, dear friends. This is also very important to understand. Alright, Rhizobium is a biofertilizer which is present in the leguminous roots of plants. Alright, where we can find symbiotic association. Alright, so both the plant helps the the bacteria helps the plant. Bacteria derives nutrition from the plant and at the same time helps in nitrogen fixation. Alright, fine, dear friends. So this is about Rhizobium. Next, we also have many other different types of Nostoc. Nostoc is a cyanobacteria, dear friends. Alright, so cyanobacteria are autotrophic. They can indeed produce their own food, and also remember that they are widely distributed in the aquatic as well as in the case of terrestrial environments. Alright, so apart from Nostoc, there are other different types of nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. Even I can say there is Oscillatoria. Alright, or dear friends, even I can say there is Anabina. Alright, there are of course many, Azospirillum, Azotobacter and so many other, what I can say, the cyanobacteria which is acting as biofertilizers. Here next, Mycorrhiza. Whenever we talk about the Mycorrhiza, dear friends, alright, this Mycorrhiza is a fungal symbiotic association with plants. Alright, it's a fungal symbiotic association with plants. It is also acting as a biofertilizer. But the next you consider Agrobacterium, dear friends. In the first option which is given, what is Agrobacterium? Agrobacterium tumefaciens, whenever we speak, it is a pathogen. Alright, what it is? It is a pathogen, alright, where especially in case of various dicot plants. Alright, friends. So that's what it causes a disease called as crown gall. Alright, and of course Agrobacterium tumefaciens is used in biotechnology also as a vector. So here Agrobacterium is not a biofertilizer, so we have to go for option 1. That will be your right answer. Dear friends, the next question we have here is secondary sewage treatment is mainly alright, whenever we are talking about secondary sewage treatment, remember that secondary sewage treatment is a biological process. Here microorganisms are involved, alright, to break down the complex substances into the simpler ones. Alright, see here, when in the secondary, what I can say, treatment, what we are going to do, primary effluent is passed into very big large tanks. Alright, what is passed into the tanks? Primary effluents, dear friends. Effluent here means to say the waste. Alright, primary effluents. So primary means after primary treatment, that is sedimentation and filtration. In the secondary treatment, that remaining primary effluent will be put into the secondary treatment, alright, plants. Secondary treatment plants, STPs. Alright, so what is done here? Lot of oxygen, aeration will be given in the secondary treatment plants, dear friends, and there is formation of flocks. Alright, what is flocks here? Flocks can be various different types of masses of bacteria as well as the fungal filaments which form mesh like structures, dear friends. Alright, Further, let me tell you, dear friends, now as we all know that what happens here in the secondary treatment is that the organic matter, right, the organic matter is broken down into, all right, the simpler, what I can say, the simple, all right, simpler forms, all right. So this is what is done, which will be done by the aerobic bacteria, dear friends, and this aerobic bacteria reduces BOD, biological oxygen demand as well, all right. So fine. So now further, the secondary treatment, activated sludge we say, is passed on further for anaerobic treatment. This process continues, dear friends. So anyway, so secondary treatment, as I said you here, majorly aerobic bacteria is involved. So you have to say what? It's a biological process. So option D is the correct one. Then next question we have here is, which of the following is mainly produced by the activity of anaerobic bacteria on sewage? Four options have been given: laughing gas, propane, mustard gas and marsh gas. So always remember, dear friends, whenever we are talking about this marsh gas, option 4 you see, marsh gas is also called as methane gas, alright. And where it is produced, this methane gas is produced by the activities of anaerobic bacteria, alright, during the sewage treatment, alright. So friends, we know that sewage contains various different types of organic matter and microorganisms in it, alright, that can include bacteria as well as fungi, now which are digested to simpler ones, alright. So fine, dear friends, here always remember, whenever we are talking about, alright, the anaerobic activity of anaerobic bacteria, whenever we are considering, alright, we are talking about, alright, marsh gas or the methane gas. So the right answer here should be option, alright, D. Please go for it. Next question we have, an organism used as a biofertilizer for raising soya bean is, alright, for raising soya bean, which of these, alright, is used as a biofertilizer is the question, dear friends. See, rhizobium is used as a biofertilizer for raising soya bean crop, alright. See, especially there is one species of rhizobium referred to as Rhizobium, right, japonicum, right. This is used for, alright, raising the soya bean crops, dear friends, alright. And this Rhizobium japonicum forms the symbiotic association, alright, with the roots of, alright, leguminous plants, like for example here which is given soya bean. So we will work on that, alright. Symbiotic association with soya bean, this Rhizobium japonicum can do definitely, alright. So anyway, so the right given answer is what here? So biofertilizer is here the Rhizobium japonicum. So the right answer here should be what? Option C. So the next question we have here is, which one of the following is a wrong matching of a microbe and its industrial product, while the remaining three are correct? Dear friends, with respect to this question, let me tell you, we need to go for the wrong matching. That's very important. Okay, let us move with each one. Yeast produces statins. Statins are blood cholesterol reducing agent. Yes, that can be definitely possible. Alright, that's the correct option. Acetobacter aceti produces acetic acid. Acetobacter aceti is a bacteria. Yes, that produces organic acid called acetic acid. That is also the correct one. Alright, and Clostridium butylicum does not produce lactic acid. Clostridium butylicum produces butyric acid, dear friends. Alright, so the given option 3 is wrong, alright. But anyway, let us also understand what has been mentioned in the fourth option. Aspergillus niger can be used for the production of citric acid. Yes, that's also correct. See, this question is based on that microbes which are used for the commercial production of the organic acids and various other different types of chemicals. Yes, that can be definitely possible. And as I said you here, the wrong option is what? Option C, Clostridium butylicum does not produce lactic acid, but it produces the butyric acid. Alright, so you have to go for option C. Dear students, the next question we have here is, a common biocontrol agent for the control of plant diseases is. 4 options have been mentioned, that is baculoviruses, Bacillus thuringiensis, glomus and trichoderma. So dear students, here first of all we need to understand each one of this. Alright, what is their role? How do they perform their role in the role as a microbe, alright, in the human welfare. So first of all, let me talk about the baculoviruses. Whenever we talk about baculoviruses, remember my dear friends that the baculoviruses belong to, alright, a genus called as nucleopolyhedroviruses. Alright, nucleopolyhedroviruses. Alright, so this is very important to note down. Alright, they are used as biocontrol agents, but these are used for controlling the insects and arthropods, friends. Alright, but we need to know that, right, which of these control the plant diseases. These among these four biocontrol agents, we need to identify which controls plant diseases, dear friends. But baculovirus is majorly controlling the insects and arthropods, so that cannot be our option. Secondly, we have Bacillus thuringiensis. Alright, whenever we talk about Bacillus thuringiensis, dear friends, we know that this Bacillus thuringiensis is a soil bacterium. Alright, so this can be used as, alright, biopesticide. Alright, see, it has a protein called as cryprotein. Alright, this cryprotein, when it goes into the gut of the insect, alright, where alkaline pH is available, it becomes active and it destroys the gut cells, leading to the death of the pests and as well as many insects. Alright, so anyway, that's majorly used as what? Pesticide. So we cannot go for B as well. Then we have glomus, dear friends. Alright, see, glomus, whenever we talk, it is, alright, fungal partner. It is a common fungal partners of mycorrhiza. Alright, glomus, alright, is a genus where we have fungi, like let me say, like we have endomycorrhiza and ectomycorrhiza, right? So this glomus includes that. Alright, my dear friends, so this is fungal partners of mycorrhiza, we generally refer it to as, alright, they are reside in the higher plants, alright, like for example in the dicots. Alright, so that cannot be our option. That is a symbiotic association. They help in symbiotic association with the plants. Alright, they derive the nutrition from the plants. At the same time, they, alright, help in various aspects to the plants, like controlling the salinity, alright, resistance against many pests, drought as well. Alright, so that's multiple roles they perform. Alright, at the same time, as I said you, they also derive benefit from the plant. But coming to trichoderma, dear friends, whenever we talk about trichoderma, remember that trichoderma has lot of advantages here. Alright, it is important to control various types of plant diseases, like for example, it can be useful for controlling root rot, alright, collar rot, alright, damping off, and many other, alright, diseases. Number of diseases it can control, so plant diseases. So among the given options, we can go for option D. That will be our correct answer. The next question we have here is, the common nitrogen fixer in paddy fields is. Whenever we talk about paddy fields, remember dear friends, here we talk about generally here among the given following, Rhizobium, Azospirillum, Oscillator and Frankia is there, but most often we talk about Azospirillum. Alright, Azospirillum is a anaerobic nitrogen fixing microbe. Alright, it's anaerobic nitrogen fixing microbe. It forms loose association. It forms what? Loose association with roots of many different types of plants, like especially the paddy plants. Alright, here remember that whenever the inoculation of paddy fields is done with this type of bacteria, that is Azospirillum, it helps in increasing the yield. That is the one advantage. It helps in increasing the yield. That's one important. To go with that, even nitrogen content also it increases. So among the given options, the right answer is which one? We have to go for option B, that is Azospirillum. So Azospirillum is used as a common nitrogen fixer in paddy fields. Then the next question we have, dear friends, an example of endomycorrhizae is, all right, whenever we talk about endomycorrhizae, all right, we need to remember that there is one genus called as, just now I just repeated that, all right, the genus is called as Glomus. Under this genus, dear friends, all right, the endomycorrhizae is also included. All right, see, let me tell you a few important aspects about endomycorrhizae. All right, this endomycorrhizae forms symbiotic association. All right, symbiotic association with plants. All right, we can say that they have many benefits here. Both of them get benefited as it is symbiotic. See, first of all, let me tell you that the fungal symbiont or the endomycorrhizae, all right, absorbs the phosphorus, all right, from the soil where it lives in the plant, right, and then, all right, from the soil then it passes to the plant. Please remember that, all right, absorb the soil from the roots where it is living, all right, roots, near the roots, the soil, whichever, whatever type of soil is present, from that it absorbs the phosphorus and passes it on to the plant. This one point. And on the second note, dear friends, let me tell you that, note this point as well, all right, that even plants also, all right, get benefit by being with endomycorrhizae in various aspects, like it gives resistance against, all right, or resistance to, all right, root borne pathogens. The plants also get these benefits, all right, root borne pathogens, and always tolerance to salinity, all right, and further even tolerance to drought, dear friends, all right, and when all this happens, there will be rapid growth, overall growth, and of course, all right, development will also be in a very fine manner, all right. So these are advantages, all right, of the plant, when it is associated with endomycorrhiza. It gets lot of benefits from endomycorrhiza. Let me repeat, all right, whenever the endomycorrhiza is associated with the plant, all right, it helps in more absorption of phosphorus, and also, as I said, you resistance to root borne pathogens, as well as it all right, helps in controlling the salinity, tolerance to salinity, and also to the drought, all right. So these are some advantages, all right, which the plant can derive through endomycorrhiza. And nostoc, already we know nostoc is what? Blue green algae. Nostoc is we say it as blue green algae, and it is all right, helping in nitrogen fixation generally, all right. And then Glomus, as I said, you endomycorrhiza belongs to the genus called Glomus, so the right answer is what? Glomus. Agaricus is also called as mushroom, all right. So then Rhizobium is also nitrogen fixing bacteria. It can fix 150 kg, dear friends, all right, per hectare of land, all right. So the right answer here should be B. Next question we have, dear friends, here is that of which one of the following pairs is wrongly matched, all right. We need to understand this, dear friends. See, four options have been mentioned here. First is alcohol and nitrogenous, then followed by fruit pectinase, textile amylase, and detergents lipase. So see, detergents, of course, has a important enzyme called as lipase, all right. Textiles use amylase, and fruit juices are pectinase involved in various aspects of fruit juice, all right. And but whereas alcohol nitrogenous is not concerned here, all right. See, nitrogenous it is given rather. See, let me explain you this, all right. Yeast species are used for alcoholic fermentation. Whenever we talk about alcohol production, all right, we talk about yeast species generally. Say for example, we have Saccharomyces, all right, Cerevisiae, all right. This type of yeast species are very important for, all right, alcoholic fermentation, and they need an enzyme, all right, in the presence of an enzyme called zymase, all right, my friends. So it cannot be nitrogenous, all right. That option one itself is wrong. Dear friends, the next question we have, nitrogen fixation in root nodules of Alnus is brought about by. See, dear friends, remember already I have told you, for example, whenever we talk about the nitrogen fixation, generally it occurs right, by various different types of bio, all right, fertilizers. That can be Rhizobium, Azospirillum, Azotobacter, Nostoc, Oscillatoria, right? Like this mycorrhiza, that's a fungi. Like all these different types of organisms, especially the microbes, bring about the nitrogen fixation, dear friends. But here we need to understand with respect to Alnus. First of all, let me tell you, Alnus is a non-leguminous plant. All right, it is a non-leguminous plant, dear friends. So in non generally, see, nitrogen fixation is brought about in the leguminous plants where generally nodules are present. But let me also tell you, nodules can also be present in non-leguminous plants. All right, for example, Alnus. All right, and also you can give along with Alnus one more example like Casuarina. All right, in both this, whether it is Alnus or Casuarina, all right, the nitrogen fixation, it can be brought about by Frankia, which are non-leguminous plants, dear friends. So go for option A. Then friends, we have the next question. Probiotics are cancer inducing microbes, all right. Then cancer, after later that we have new kind of food allergens, live microbial food supplement, all right. Then safe antibiotics. Four options have been given here, dear friends. So with respect to tell you, with this question, we need to understand first of all what do we mean by probiotics. Probiotics are, they are actually dietary supplements, dear friends, all right. We need to know that these dietary supplements contain potentially beneficial bacteria and yeast, all right. Both beneficial bacteria, or even we can find what, Saccharomyces cerevisiae or yeast. Here in this probiotics, dear friends, right, of course we have LAB bacteria as well, lactic acid bacteria, other than the yeast. When I am talking about bacteria, it's most importantly is what, lactic acid bacteria. So these probiotics are used since many years, all right, for as in the especially in the food industry, dear friends, all right. So they can convert especially the lactose and other carbohydrates into lactic acid. Friends, see, probiotics of course are very important even with respect to what, the medicinal uses, like probiotics can be definitely used in various aspects. Let me give few of it. See, probiotics can be used as cholesterol reducing, all right, for cholesterol reduction of cholesterol rather, we can say. Then they can lower blood pressure, all right. This is also one of the advantage, all right. They can prevent infections, all right. Then further they can reduce inflammation, all right, dear friends. See, lot of advantages we have through probiotic microorganisms, all right. So they can aid in mineral absorption, all right. And further harmful bacterial growth can be avoided through probiotics. It helps in what I can say, further in avoiding colon cancer, all right, avoiding managing lactose intolerance, all right. Irregular bowel movements can also be avoided. So anyway, it has lot of advantages, dear friends, all right. So for the 19th question, I just told you that potentially beneficial bacteria and yeast is included, so it is option C, that is live microbial and live microbial food supplement. That will be your right answer. Then dear friends, next question we have, a major component of gobar gas is, all right. Whenever we talk about gobar gas, we also use one more term called as biogas, right. So already I have spoken about it, that here gobar gas produces various components, all right, like methane, carbon dioxide, all right, and hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen, nitrogen, and many other gases, all right. But majority of all right percentage will be methane, followed by carbon dioxide, all right. So among the given options, all right, we can go for option B. That will be our right answer, because methane is the efficient gas which is produced through biogas, all right, or which is the highest percentage of gas which can be found in the gobar gas or biogas. So please go for option B. Next, dear friends, we have the next question. During formation of bread, it becomes porous due to the release of carbon dioxide by the action of. So here yeast, bacteria, virus, protozoans are the given options. First of all, let me tell you that there is one important yeast called as Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Alright. This, in fact, dear friend, converts starch or sugars, or rather I can say even sugars also I can use here, sugars to pyruvic acid through one of the pathway called EMP pathway. Embden-Meyerhof-Paranas pathway is the full form of EMP pathway. Then this pyruvic acid which is present, right friends, so this is converted into, further I will show you the reaction continuation here. So pyruvic acid is further converted into acetaldehyde. Alright. Now let me tell you that finally the acetaldehyde will be converted into ethanol, that is C2H5OH. Alright. But as this is, it is a fermentation process, here there is no, alright, oxygen at all. In the absence of oxygen, all this will occur, dear friends. That's what we call it to as the fermentation process. Here, okay, let me represent in the reaction. See, C6H12O6, that is glucose, gets converted into 2CH2CO. Alright, I'll just put across once more. C6H12O6 gives rise to 2CH2COOH plus, alright, 2C2H5OH plus 2CO2. So this will be the fermentation reaction, dear friends. So where carbon dioxide will be released, alright, alright. So this carbon dioxide gives spongy nature to the bread, alright. So the right answer here should be, alright, here we have to go for yeast, alright, option A, because of the porous, the bread is porous due to the release of carbon dioxide by yeast. That carbon dioxide is released by during the conversion, during the fermentation process, where organic compounds are converted into C2H5OH, right? So during that time, alright, we can see yeast releasing carbon dioxide, that is making the bread porous. Then dear friends, the next question we have here is, which of the following fern is an excellent biofertilizer? Alright, whenever we talk about again biofertilizer, remember out of these given options easily we can go for azolla. Alright, see, azolla is a fern actually. Alright, azolla is a fern where in the leaf cavities of which blue-green algae, alright, in the fern called azolla, we have in the leaves of it, alright, in the leaves we can find one of the blue-green algae called Anabaena. Alright, so this in fact, dear friend, this azolla and Anabaena, alright, this azolla and Anabaena combination, dear friends, will definitely help, alright, in as a what I can say biofertilizer, which increases the yield up to 50%. Alright, and Anabaena also, see, this Anabaena which is present also helps in fixation of nitrogen. Alright, so here, so we have to go for option C. Then which of the following is non-symbiotic biofertilizer? Non-symbiotic refers to one where there is no what I can say association and mutual helping between the two of the organisms. Alright, so that's what we call non-symbiotic. Alright, here remember we need to identify among the given four which of it is non-symbiotic, which the non-symbiotic means independent. Alright, so here Azotobacter, option D, alright, is a free living. It's a free living aerobic nitrogen fixing bacteria. Alright, remember that it's a free living, it is living independent life without being, alright, of course not being associated with the others. Alright, So Anabaena, whenever we talk, dear friends, Anabaena is a nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria. All right, it gets associated with Azolla, a fern that we have discussed in the previous question. Rhizobium, all right, lives symbiotically in root nodules of legumes, all right, leguminous plants, as well as in few non-leguminous plants as well. And this VAM represents vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza. All right, vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza, VAM we say, VAM, VAM. All right, it is the example for endomycorrhiza. All right, so where hyphae penetrate into the cortical cells of grasses. All right, and helps in many important aspects like absorption of phosphorus, all right, tolerating the salinity, tolerating the drought, all right, and helping in overall growth and development, as I had said you before. All right, so here see, Anabaena, Rhizobium and VAM can have symbiotic associations, but not Azotobacter, because Azotobacter is free living. So please go for option D, that is our right answer. Next question we have, which of the following microorganisms is used, all right, for the production of citric acid in industries? All right, see, citric acid is obtained, all right, through fermentation, dear friends. It's organic acid, so which is obtained through a process called fermentation. All right, and here we need Aspergillus niger. All right, so where the Aspergillus niger grows on the sugary syrups. When it grows on the sugary syrups, it produces organic acid called as what? Citric acid. So citric acid has, of course, various what I can say, roles to play. Citric acid is employed in dyeing, all right, dyeing industries, all right, engraving. It is also used in various different types, all right, of medicines, inks, all right. It is also used in flavoring agents, all right, and most importantly, it is used in preservation of food materials, all right, many different types of foods and candies as well. So these are few advantages which we can derive from citric acid. All right, the answer is what? Citric acid is generally produced from Aspergillus niger, so you have to go for option A. So next question we have, the biofertilizers are. See, already I have spoken about biofertilizers, dear friends. Whenever we talk about biofertilizers, they are generally the organisms which bring about the enrichment of the soil. All right. So here always remember, in the previous questions also I have solved. All right. See, Azolla is a fern, dear friends. In this fern we can have one of the blue green alga called Anabaena. All right. This Anabaena is associated with a fern called Azolla. Both, when they are present together, definitely there will be increase in the, what I can say, nitrogen content especially, and due to which 50%, all right, 50% of nitrogen of a plant, especially the Azolla, can be fixed. All right, so it has lot of advantages, friends. All right, so the biofertilizers here, all right, we can say Anabaena and Azolla, we can go first option itself. The cow dung, mature and farmyard waste, which is given here, all right, it is not appropriate here. All right, it cannot act as biofertilizer. Quick growing crop plowed under soil cannot all right, undergo, what I can act as biofertilizers, or only the option which can be here true is option A. Please go for it. Then, dear friends, cochineal insects, all right, have proved very useful for here. Whenever we talk about the extensive growth of cactus, or we can say one word called opuntia, all right. See, whenever we talk about this opuntia, always remember, especially in case of Australia, all right, this opuntia was checked by, all right, or checked through the introduction of natural herbivore. All right, it's a natural herbivore. Which is the natural herbivore here? Herbivore cochineal insect. That is what we call it to as cochineal insect. We can generally refer it to as Cactoblastic cactorum. All right, Cactoblastic cactorum. All right, so please go for option coccineal insects like Cactoblastic cactorum are used to control the the cactus plants, which acts as the weeds, especially I have given an example, especially in Australia there was extensive growth. To control that, it initially started, and in many places now it is being used. The next question we have here is, the citric acid is produced by, citric acid is a organic acid. I have told the advantages in the previous questions. So remember, dear friend, that citric acid is always produced through aerobic fermentation. Of what? Aerobic fermentation of one of the important sugar called as sucrose. So sucrose in beet molasses. So here the one important microbe, which is involved in the production of citric acid is Aspergillus niger. It's a fungi which is very important for the production of what? Citric acid, dear friends. So let me tell you that citric acid is made available in the market in the form of what? The anhydrous crystalline chemical, as powder, we can say, rather. So fruit drinks, confectionaries, jams, jellies, preservation of foods, and many other commercial products, and also in the electroplating of leather, blood transfusion, in so many ways the citric acid is used. But here it is majorly produced by a fungi called as what? Aspergillus niger. So on beet molasses, we have to go for option C. That will be our right answer. Next question is, the rotenone is, so a natural herbicide, a natural insecticide, an insect hormone, a bioherbicide. Always remember that rotenone is a natural insecticide, dear friends. So what are natural insecticides? Natural insecticides are those which are obtained only from the microorganisms, or and rather we can say, and also from the plants. So the first insecticide used by man is azadirachtin. Remember that. So it was obtained from Azadirachta indica. That was the first that was the first natural insecticide which was used by man. So rotenone is also one of the natural insecticide. But later, after the discovery of azadirachtin, the rotenone came into force. The next question we have here is, biological control of agricultural pests, unlike chemical control, is self-perpetuating, polluting, very expensive, toxic. Dear friends, whenever we talk about biological control of agricultural pests, remember that this biological control rather employs natural methods of controlling the agricultural pests as well as the insects. Natural method. So here the man plays an important role, because he should possess the knowledge of predators, he should have knowledge of parasites, he should also understand various life cycles of insects, pests, and the diseases of the plants also he should have knowledge of. And all this, of course, when he has all this particular knowledge about how to control the pests naturally, then definitely that controlling can be called as what? Biological controlling of pests and insects. Dear friends, see, whenever we talk about biological control, it does not cause any pollution, or either it is not expensive when compared to chemical control, which are rather very expensive, or either it cannot be toxic. It is self-perpetuating process. It occurs between the organisms. Say for example, if I say we have frogs, for example, or if I say there are many different types of toads, or even if I say lizards which eat up insects, we call it as aphids. So these aphids can cause damage to the crops and the yield. But their population is checked. It is under control by frog, by eating away of these aphids by frogs, toads, and lizards. In the similar manner, the phytophagus, that or the insects which survive in the plants, their population is also checked through natural means by predator and right parasite interactions. Dear friends, like this, we can have many various types through which we can definitely control the agricultural pests. All right, so the right answer here should be option A, that is self perpetuating. Please go for it. The last question for today's session is, which of the following species does not have ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen? Four options have been given. The first one is Azotobacter, followed by Anabaena, then we have Nostoc, followed by Spirogyra. Here, dear friends, remember the members of cyanobacteria. Right, like we have even, and some bacteria as well, right, can have the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen. All right, let me tell you that Azotobacter, the first option which is given, Azotobacter has the ability of nitrogen fixation. Dear friends, without any doubt I can say that the Azotobacter has the ability of nitrogen fixation. It's a bacteria. All right, what is the Azotobacter? Azotobacter is a bacteria which can fix nitrogen. Then we have secondly, what, dear friends? Anabaena. All right, here second option we have is Anabaena. All right, see this Anabaena, I have already spoken about it. It's a blue green algae, or in short term we can represent it as what? BGA. All right, this Anabaena or blue green algae is generally, this has association with one of the fern called Azolla. Azolla is a fern. These two will have symbiotic association, dear friends. All right, this symbiotic association helps in increasing the or enriching the fertility. So they both act as what? Biofertilizers, and most importantly, they increase the nitrogen content by 50%, dear friends. The association of the Anabaena as well as the Azolla, all right, can increase the nitrogen content by more than 50%. All right, so definitely Anabaena, all right, also has the proper ability to fix nitrogen. And whenever we talk about even Anabaena, all right, they have heterosis. Anabaena also have one of the important nitrogen fixing structure in them called as what? Heterosis. So they help in nitrogen fixation. And to go with that, next we have Nostoc, dear friends. The next what we have? Nostoc here. So what is Nostoc? Nostoc is also one of the cyanobacteria which also have nitrogen fixing structures, all right, called as nitrogen fixing structures called as the heterocysts. As I said, all right, dear friends, heterocysts. All right, as like how we discussed about the Anabaena, in the similar way Nostoc also has nitrogen fixing structures called heterocysts. But when we talk about the Spirogyra, dear friends, see, whenever we talk about Spirogyra, no, Spirogyra is not at all helping in, all right, the nitrogen fixation, because Spirogyra is one of the commonest green alga. It is very, very commonly found green alga, so it is not having any role in the nitrogen fixation. So the right answer which you have to go for is option D. Please go for it. So this ends the session. Thank you very much.